I'm Suzy Shaw, mom of two, now adult boys, and author of the book Mother of Boys Survival Guide. This podcast shares practical insights, expert advice, and real conversations to help moms raise confident, capable boys. You can find more episodes and resources at mothersofboys.life. Now, let's get into today's conversation. Why high-achieving kids struggle with anxiety and what parents can do. Today, we're talking about something many parents don't see until it becomes a problem: the hidden pressure behind achievement and goals. My guest is Dr. Carla Caturia, elite peak performance coach and founder of the House of Rise. After spending more than 20 years working with over 10,000 tweens, teens, young adults, and their families, she's discovered that many high-achieving kids look successful on the outside while quietly struggling with anxiety, perfectionism, self-doubt, and burnout. In this episode, we'll discuss why achievement doesn't automatically create confidence, how parents can support their children without rescuing them, and practical ways to help boys develop resilience, emotional intelligence, and a strong sense of identity that isn't tied to grades, sports, or accomplishments. Welcome, Dr. Carla.
Thank you so much for having me. Thanks for that amazing intro. I appreciate that.
Well, this is a very interesting topic. I think as a parent, you, of course, want your child to be successful. So let's just start with, how did you get into this area, and a little bit about your background in focusing on elite teens?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was an educator, I think, like you said, for about 20 years, college, high school, and middle school. And as an assistant principal and a teacher, I kept seeing kind of the same concerns happening. And these actually were the same things that happened to me when I was younger. A lot of times it wasn't even parents putting a lot of pressure on their kids, the kids were putting pressure on themselves. And they would have a lot of stress, anxiety, overwhelm, and kind of achievement became their identity. And so the pressure they put on themselves led them to not trust themselves.
Hmm.
And therefore they were, really overwhelmed and burnt out. And yeah, I really helped them with just starting with one, regulating their emotions. And I found that a lot of high achievers are really good, like maybe book smart or maybe really good at their sport or activity, yet to feel their feelings is a whole nother level.
Hmm.
And yeah, not as comfortable. So that's why I kind of did what I'm doing today. Yeah.
Fun. Yeah, interesting. And I think every parent can see the struggle that goes on as, you know, teens and kids emotionally develop, whether they're high achieving or not, and can have that self-doubt and self-reflection, or not, frankly. I mean, no self-reflection at all is a whole nother fun
Yeah.
fun part often of boys. So so what are some signs that a child may actually be struggling with anxiety that a parent can look for?
Yeah. I think you know, it tends to be maybe, a lot of comparison, perfectionism. A lot of kids either just like, I'm going to get a C and that's it, I shut down, or I am so productive and so busy, I have no time to breathe, kind of thing. So it can show up differently. A lot of, dependence upon others' opinions. They feel like it's just like too much of a risk to try to like figure it out themselves or to take on that responsibility of responsibility. So it's very easy to not take
No, not
responsibility.
responsibility.
That's a big one. And we all know, like, girls often take more responsibility than boys. They mature earlier. But frankly, I don't think often, so, sometimes I don't think it's like an outward thing with boys that they're like, I'm not going to take responsibility. I am very aware of this. It's like a
Mhm.
subconscious. It's easy to blame mom, blame brother, sister, friend, whoever, because I don't want to feel that feeling of you, whatever it is, fear, so that I'm just going to blame somebody else and I'm not going to take the responsibility. So yeah, shows up.
Well, I think everybody has their who they are in their mind's eye, and when the reality of that, um, you act a certain way that you didn't think you were, like, you thought you were a good, upstanding person, you're gonna take care of the bully on the bus, and then you didn't, you just got scared, right? So, this self-doubt, is there every day with adults and kids, and you
Mhm.
talk about success without self-cycle. So, yeah, what is that? And, why are so many successful kids getting caught up in it?
Yeah, so yeah, that's where that they are kind of like who I am equals what I achieve. And a lot of times into to what you were just speaking about, it's let's say in elementary and middle school, they don't have to study, they get good grades, it's easy. And
Mhm,
oftentimes, they hit their first AP class freshman year, or they notice like they're in high school and they're with a whole bunch of other kids, and other kids are really good at their instruments too, or they're not the best
mhm,
whatever it might be, sport, so on and so forth. And right away, it's like they're not a jealous person. They don't hold a lot of contempt, but they do. They're like, "Ooh, what do I do now? Like, I'm not the best," or, I got to achieve harder, better, all these things to keep up. And so they kind of lose their purpose. A lot of kids will like quit activities. Or I remember I was doing dance for 9 years as a kid, and then I started sports, and I don't regret either of those decisions yet. Do they a lot of times don't kids don't get into another activity, and then it's just too much pressure. So that they put a lot of pressure on themselves in various areas of their life. And then as we spoke about, it's that lack of self-trust, and they can, just have difficulty problem solving or making a mistake. And, that's when they just really have that either you know, it comes out in conflict at home, it comes out in avoidance, it comes out in I don't care anymore, or it could be just anxiety,
mhm.
work harder. So
So
yeah,
what do
that's
parents
yeah.
do at those moments?
Well, so the ideal thing is to get ahead of it and be proactive before we see this happening, of course. So so that's the ideal in getting them the tools they need prior to kind of emotionally handle their feelings and these big emotions. So I think oftentimes for example, I have boys that, they have outbursts, they yell at their mom, they throw equipment at baseball practice or whatever it is.
Mhm,
And all of that is just them protecting something they're not knowing how to feel inside. So
mhm,
the frustration and all that. So I think parents can either get support or and model for them how it is to handle big emotions and share with them and be vulnerable and explain and talk about it, because it's easy to sweep feelings and emotions under the rug and just talk about other things.
mhm,
Yet I think especially with boys, it's becoming comfortable with your uncomfortable emotions, because the more comfortable
mhm,
you become with them, then they're going to teach you the lesson you needed to learn, and you just accept that versus resisting it, and then it's just pushing it down.
mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
As as a parent, I always felt one of the most critical things I could do was listen, um, and try to hear those nuances, so for example, I wrote a book. I had 2 boys. I called the boys Ernest and Exuberance. Um, Ernest was not my sports athlete guy. He was the robotics guy, but Exuberance, um, was fast. He was very fast, and he ran cross country, and they wanted him to run year round, and he said, "No, I'm only gonna run cross country." And then he goes off to college, and they want him to run on the track team, and he said no. And so it was, I think, an interesting learning and struggle, for his father and myself to figure out how to respect his desire to to not do that,
Mhm.
when he had the talent to do it.
Yeah, I hear you on that. And I think, yes, to your first point, listening, because a lot of times we see our kids and we want, and they're struggling or they're sharing and we just want to fix something for them.
Mhm.
But validating the emotion that they're having. And if it's not an emotion, it's not a problem, still just listening versus like guessing the next thing they're going to say. And that's like obviously across the board at being a good listener. And I think to your point, I mean, I'm working with like a surfer right now and he's amazing. Yet he does, when he competes, he just freezes.
Mhm.
And it's his parents being very frustrated because they see how good he is. And, we work on his mindset and, the hope is he can get out there and compete. And if that tends to not be his choice, just like your son, that's okay too.
Mhm.
But it's tough to watch someone with so much talent not use it. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was really
Yes.
it was harder for his father than it was for me. Um,
Mhm.
but, it was a learning experience for parents. Um,
Yep.
so how does anxiety show up differently in boys, do you think? Especially
Mm.
those who seem to be doing well in school and sports or other activities?
Yeah, I think like like a little bit like I said earlier, like with girls, you get the crying, you get you get the kind of like that emotional just outlet where
Mhm.
and I'm not saying my boys that I don't work with or boys I've known don't cry. That's not true. Yeah, it's just societally it's very different. And you might see it more in anger. You might see it more in an outburst or just a lot of resistance with say maybe it's mom, maybe it's dad,
Mhm.
any kind of and I think that happens a lot with boys also because of choice too. I think a lot of parents giving their kids choice within reason goes a long way. Um
Mhm.
but I think yeah, it can come out in a more angry way in some boys and then also the opposite of that is just the seclusion, the like close the door, go on the video game or close the
Mhm.
door and so a lot of that's normal, and you have to be careful because it might be too much and it's not normal anymore, and I don't like to use the word normal, but during the teen years, and you know this very well, like, it's all about friends, it's all about them, it's not, not family as much, and, we just have to monitor that because it can come out very outwardly, but it also can not be seen, and we have to
Mhm.
make sure we're seeing them. Yeah,
Right.
yeah. Mm.
There's so many nicknames for parents. We've got helicopter parents, that hover and swoop in and fix things, lawnmower parents that mow the lawn and take all obstacles out of the way, the tiger mom. Um, I
Yeah.
I called myself a submarine parent, and I kind of made that that up, but I would float beneath the surface and collect intelligence and ping locations and on occasion have a full breach, but, you know, mostly let them, figure it out. So what strategy for teen boys, tween boys do you recommend? Not necessarily of those. And what do you think works and what doesn't?
Yeah, yeah, and I like the way your analogy is with the submarine because I think the best thing you can do is let them problem solve, let them fail, let them.
Mhm,
And obviously, I'm sure there were times when you knew you had to step in. It was just, beyond what they could reason at that point. But I feel as if a lot of parents, um, it takes kids way longer to process things than it does us. One,
mhm,
because of their brain, but two, because we've already gone through that situation. We already know the answer. So to pause, listen, observe, like you're saying, under the surface, and ask good questions and probe them to problem solve. And I even worked with like I'm working with a boy and his mom, and it was always like they'd be fighting. Me to him, I said, you have to go to mom with one solution before you can go and take all your emotions out on her.
mhm,
So, and I and but and to her, it was like you have to take a step back and let him come with that solution. So I think a lot of it is moving from correcting to observing, from reacting to just regulating yourself.
Mhm.
and from stepping in to just stepping back. And none of the and it's at first feels like you don't care, but that's not the case. We have to let them have the experiences in order to grow, or else we're robbing them. And it can be a fine balance. I understand that you don't want them in risky situations. That's fair. Yet if they fail something in 7th grade, it's better to fail that in 7th grade than it is in senior year, So for an example. So, let them deal with the situation with their friend or the conflict, or coach them through it, but let them figure out how they want to handle it with your support. So it's almost like you're their wingman almost.
Oh, yeah, I like that analogy. Um, the, uh the parenting journey, there are times when you need, I think, professional help and support, professionals like yourself for somebody that's very high achieving, or just even some parenting coaching. We had a psychologist that saw both of our boys on occasion, that we called the boy whisperer, because it's like we just couldn't get through to them. And so, how important is it for a parent to find a resource to help in those moments of development?
Yeah, 100%. And I often don't bring this up. I'm not here for self-promotion, though I am here
Mhm,
to support and provide value. And it is true. You as the parent are emotionally attached to the situation and to the child. So Susie's saying XYZ, Carla's saying XYZ, but who's going to get through to your son? Probably
mhm,
me, because it's not mom or it's not dad.
mhm.
So
Yep,
oftentimes parents, we're on the same page. We have the same values, the same standards that we're sharing with kids. Yet it's I can get through to them because I'm not attached in that way.
right.
And and oftentimes, boys in particular, but girls too, don't wanna see me. And it's not me, it's I'm not broken, I don't need to be fixed, I don't wanna see a therapist. And that's why I'm like, "Well,
Mhm,
I'm not a therapist, I'm a coach."
right.
And that goes a long way, because it's what goals do you want as a child, a teenager? What goals do you want? And oftentimes their goals are very similar to their parents' goals. And it's we want to work on where you're at right now and get you to the next level in whatever areas of your life you want to get in. And so I think that that's very important for parents to have, to be and to reach out and know that, look, we've tried everything. We're great parents. We have grace with ourselves. I'm not there to tell you that you don't know what you're doing. I'm just there to supplement what you've already put in place, and
Mhm.
help you as a family move to the next level.
Yeah. I love what you were saying about coach. Um, I discovered that, almost like magic fairy dust, early in parenting my my boys, and I started to call everybody a coach. So this was the organizational coach, this was the reading coach, this was the life coach. It's like, just because they were more receptive,
Mhm.
about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. I mean, it makes sense. And I mean, nobody wants to think that they have a disease or something wrong with them. And
Mhm.
we already inertly as humans think there's something wrong with us about all kinds of things. So I don't want someone that's going to just tell me there's something wrong with me even more.
Right.
I want someone that's going to say, like, look, I see you, and I hear you, and I listen to you, and I appreciate you, and let's work on what you need to work through.
Mhm.
Yeah. Mhm.
So so how can parents encourage excellence in hard work without making the, achievement the foundation of the child's self-worth?
Mm.
Where's that balance?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's one in your life as a parent having that balance. So if you're all the time on the phone, on a laptop at work, and that's the only thing that you're focusing on, like, what do you think they're gonna focus on? Is part of it. And I think, it's also their behavior follows their identity. So helping them to identify, like, who they really are and who they wanna become versus what they wanna do. So what they wanna do is very important. Do you wanna be a doctor, a lawyer, a plumber, whatever. Yet, who do you wanna become within whatever career you end up falling into, because you've been in a bunch of careers, I've been in a bunch of career, they're all kind of aligned, yet we most likely our kids are not going to be doing one thing for 30 years. They're going to be,
Right.
you know, and that's a
Especially
good
these
thing.
days. Nobody
A
is.
100%, 100%. So it's all about who do you want to become, confident, resilient, all of these things. And then I think all of the other things fall into line.
Mhm.
So I think it's to answer your question, I think it's modeling that for them and balancing your own life and having values as a family. Like, this is what we do on Friday night, and this is what we do
Mhm.
on Sunday, or you know whatever the rule might be, as a family, but also it's parents included.
Right.
Yeah, yeah.
When you're dealing with a teen tween that has burnout,
Mm.
how do you what are some of the warning signs? How do you identify that?
Yeah, I think most of the kids that are officially burnt out already know it and communicate that clearly to me through either saying it or just like our conversations to start off with them just like exploding about every test they have, exam, or every, how much pressure their relationship with these kids are. You can just feel it. And they oftentimes focus on all of these external things because it's very difficult for them to face the internal. And that's hard. Yet the way that I handle it is listening, step one, and then slowly unwinding it. It's not going to be where for 18 years of your life you've lived and you've had this full schedule, and all of a sudden, because I work with you for a couple months, you're going to just let go of everything.
Right.
But with that being said, it starts with, take 15 minutes for yourself today, go for a walk, like small little micro decisions that they can consistently do. If they don't go to the gym, start going to the gym. If
Mhm.
if they, maybe just journaling. There's tons of strategies you can use, but it starts by like helping them to slow down a little bit. Just a
Mhm.
little bit, make a micro decision, and as just to slow down a notch. We're not taking our foot off the gas, we're just pausing. And I think it's taking it down a notch and releasing a little bit of that anxiety a little at a time. Yeah.
Well, teaching a child how to, balance life, which is a struggle, for all adults, I think. I mean, anyone who says they have balance, I would really question, you know, because it's it's just an ongoing thing that we all have to do. So I hear you in saying that that's really what you're trying to do is model balance and then help them with these micro decisions. Is that correct?
Yeah, 100%. And I think, it's a lot of kids come to me and they are sort of ready, and some are ready and asking for someone like me, and it comes down to their commitment to themselves. So it's some weeks they're really good and they implement all the things, other weeks they fall off the wagon, for lack of a better term, and it's okay, and we're human and we start again next week. So um yeah, if I think it comes down to, like, if they're feeling, it's like when you make changes when there's pain or pleasure. So they're either
Mhm.
moving towards something and they really want this next thing and they know what they're doing right now won't get them there. Or it's just that they're so stressed out they can't take it anymore. Please help me. I need to start implementing some things. And I think that's when they really start to change because they have to want it. And I'm not here to motivate anyone, but I can help them borrow my belief a little to get them to that place where they feel like they want it. So
Mhm.
it it's not, every kid that comes to me isn't raring to go, but we get them there because they can borrow my belief in themselves. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's that's very cool. Um, so if there's a mom, listening today who's trying to, figure out how to help her son in this identity with great sports accomplishments, what's the first thing she should do?
Mm. So, I mean, that's a big question because it's kind of broad, but I think it can be, looking at herself, making sure step one, she's regulated, she's doing the best she can. Doesn't mean she's not gonna have a bad day and blow up at him every once in a while, but am I kind of showing up as my best self? Um, and 2, really giving that autonomy as much as you possibly can, giving them the choice, giving them that helps to build their confidence instead of trying to control, that destroys it. And I think also, as we stated before, it's seeing them at their next level and kind of addressing them at that next identity. And, trying not to put the pressure, try to motivate them, but, seeing them as a B student if they're a C student, or seeing them as successful at, chess or whatever it might be before they see themselves there, and helping them to borrow the belief from you.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's very valuable.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
so at the end of every podcast, I ask guests to share a motto, you know,
Ooh.
something that a mom might say to herself as she's trying to navigate this high
Mm.
achieving teen.
Mm.
What would you say?
Yeah, one of my favorites is, how I was like, I grew up with treat others like you wanna be treated, and that was always like a big saying, and I've kind of adapted it for myself is to, and I hope I say it right, because 'cause I'm so used to saying treat others like you wanna be treated, but it's treat yourself like you want others to treat you. So I think oftentimes with moms specifically, and moms of boys, moms, doing all the things, taking care of everyone else, not taking any time for themselves, and it's like, okay, you know, treat yourself right first, how you would want how you wanna treat others. So, I think, having grace with themselves, taking care of themselves, and being able to say, "No, I just can't do that right now." Eh, you know? And they will live, life will go on.
Yeah, no, no is such a valuable word, and you really need to teach them that when they're right out of the gate, so that they can hear it when they're older.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
I fully agree that as moms we can be very hard on ourselves, and my motto is "Be kind to yourself." Um, and I say that at the end of every single podcast because I believe it is a struggle with moms trying to do the best we can. I guess we're all high achieving.
Yeah, 100%. And, their kids have to take responsibility for their emotions. We have so much responsibility for them since birth. And it's hard to see them hurt, struggle, any of the things. Yet, if they don't, it's not yours to take on. It's yours to just support them through how they can handle it. So, yeah, yeah, moms are fantastic, and more power to them. And the only way they get that more power is taken by taking care of themselves. So,
Right.
yeah. Mhm.
I always wanted my kids to fail while they were home more than fail when they were out. So, giving the grace to fail
Mhm.
is was a gift for really everybody. So where can parents go for more information about you?
Mm.
We'll put that at the end of the podcast and on the webpage.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Social media is a good way to connect with me. YouTube, Instagram, Facebook. It's just under my name, Dr. Carla Caturia. You can message me if you would like. If you just want to follow me, that's fair too. I just put out a lot of content that hopefully helps parents, provide some value, and yeah, just supporting the best way that I can. So yeah, I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for your time, and we appreciate that.
Thank you so much. I loved our time together.
If this episode meant something to you, please follow and share the Mothers of Boys Survival Guide podcast on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and LinkedIn. Sharing helps other moms discover the show. Be kind to yourself, moms.